Hi, welcome to the Wine Glass, and today we're going to be talking about some warm favorites for the fall and for the winter. We're going to be talking about apple cider, Hotty Totties, and mulled wine. So let's first talk about our apple cider. So apple cider is something that can be alcoholic or non-alcoholic, and it also can be hot or it can be cold. So apple cider is actually something that's very popular year-round. A lot of people in Hispanic cultures, especially during the New Year's or during celebrations, if you're not of the age of 21, we have something called Cider, which is just basically sparkling apple cider, and that's what we use to go ahead and celebrate if you're not of drinking age. But it can be served hot or cold, and it is a very popular drink during the fall and winter to help cuddle you and make you all warm inside. So now we're going to move on to our Hotty Totties, which is what I have right here. So Hotty Totty basically is going to be water, whiskey, honey, and lemon juice. Now, not only is this great for the fall and for the winter, but this is also really great if you're sick because of the honey, because of the lemon. Now, I've never tried a Hotty Totty before. I actually made it for the first time, and the recipe called for 3/4 of a cup of water, 1.5 ounces of whiskey, but I just went ahead and put 2 ounces. It also requires 3 tablespoons of honey. And lastly, it's going to be about 3 to 4 teaspoons of lemon juice, but you can put as much lemon juice as you want just to kind of balance out everything. Also, I've garnished it with a lemon wedge, and you can also garnish it with a cinnamon stick. I'm not too crazy about having cinnamon sticks in my drink, so I went ahead with and decided not to garnish with the cinnamon stick. So make sure when you're drinking all of these hot drinks, they are hot, so please be very careful. Make sure you don't spill it on someone or yourself, and if you do, please be very careful and go through the processes for burns. So that's hot. So we're gonna go ahead and drink right. That's surprisingly good. I'm not much for hot drinks. I prefer my drinks cold. The only hot drinks I really drink is hot cocoa. I like my hot chocolate, but I actually wouldn't mind drinking this, and this when you're sick would be fantastic actually. The whiskey helps get you over the blues of being sick, but it also helps with killing any of the bacteria. So, that's really good. Alright, so we've tried our Hotty Totty, we've talked about our apple cider. Now let's get into our mulled wine. So mulled wine essentially is warm wine, and it has different spices in it. So I'm actually going to make it here right now. So let's go ahead and pick up our station and move into the kitchen. So we have everything here to make our mulled wine, so let's go ahead and get started. So the recipe that I'm going to be putting up is going to be for 8 glasses, but I'm going to be cutting in half just because it's my first time and I want to just make a small batch just in case. So we're going to go ahead and start by putting in our wine. We're going to be using the Tempranillo that I have there on the counter. We're just going to go and put in half a bottle. Now next we have our spices. We're going to be using cinnamon stick, anise, and cloves. So we're only going to be using about 4 cloves, 1 star anise, and then 1 cinnamon stick. So let's go ahead and put that in. So don't want to make a splash. Alright. Next, we're going to be putting in some sugar. Now, you can use maple syrup, honey, sugar, whichever one you'd like to use, about 2 to 4 tablespoons. I used 4 tablespoons just because I want it to be very sweet. Because the Tempranillo has a little bit of a spice to it, but we're gonna make it a little sweet this time. And last but not least, we have some orange slices that I just went ahead and cut up. It had a lot of rind, and if you don't want it to be as bitter, you can cut off the rind. So I went ahead and did that, and I'm just going to very carefully put it in so that we don't splash around. And one more. Awesome. So when you make your mulled wine, you're going to want to put it at a medium to kind of high. I'm just going to put it at 5, and you want to let that simmer. Now you want it to simmer for at least 15 minutes and at max 3 hours. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it a quick stir just to get everything together, let all the flavors get to know each other. And now I'm going to go ahead and leave this on the stove. Make sure you do stir occasionally, just to make sure that your sugar's not burning, nothing's getting stuck to the bottom of the pot. Just give it a good stir every now and then, and let's try it out in about 15 minutes. All right, just to give you a little update, I do have it simmering now. It's been simmering for about 15 minutes. You do want to simmer between 15 minutes to 3 hours. I am gonna let it simmer for an hour because I really want all those flavors to develop and let all the spices and ingredients get to know each other in the pot there. You do want to keep it at a simmer level. You don't want to boil it. You want to make sure that it's bubbling just a tiny bit, but not too much. So once again, the ingredients that I used today were cinnamon sticks, cloves, star anise, the orange slices, and the red wine, and sugar. Now, once again, like I mentioned earlier, you can use sugar, maple syrup, or honey, so you can make this as a vegan recipe or a regular recipe. And I did cut the recipe in half, so I'm gonna put the full recipe here and then the half recipe here that I used. So for the full recipe, it was a full bottle of wine, 2 cinnamon sticks, 2 star anise, 8 cloves, and it required a full orange and then 4 tablespoons of sugar. Now on the halves, I did half a bottle of wine, 1 cinnamon stick, 1 star anise, 4 cloves. I still did the 4 sugars just because I wanted to be a little sweeter since I chose a little bit of a spicier wine with the Tempranillo. I wanted to sweeten it up a lot, so I went ahead and still stayed with the 4 tablespoons of sugar. And I did about half an orange in slices. So we'll come back in about 45 minutes and then I'll let you know how it goes. So we'll be back in 3, 2, 1. All right, so we've had our mulled wine cooking on the stove for about an hour. I forgot to mention earlier, but make sure that you don't let it boil because then you're gonna boil out the alcohol and that takes out half the fun. So you just wanna make sure it's at a simmer. We did put it at 5 when we started. Now if you look, it's almost in between like a 2, 3, just kind of nice and light and a good little simmer. So after an hour, if you want to go ahead and take a look, the oranges have almost become like a blood orange. It's soaked up a lot of that wine color. Even the cinnamon stick has really went ahead and soaked up a lot of the color. So now we're gonna go ahead and scoop some out and put it in our mug. So we're gonna go ahead and grab our mug. Remember, if you have any long cloves, so make sure you pull it back. And we're gonna go ahead and get some of our wine. You can also get some of the oranges, and you can use the cinnamon as a garnish as well, but you don't have to. You can always keep it just the wine. I am going to put a little bit of the orange in there too. Make sure you do strain it. Remember, you don't want to get any of the cloves or the anise in your glass. That's not going to be a fun time. So we're just going to go ahead and get some of that wine. And now I'm just going to go ahead and tilt my pot so I can get a little bit more of that wine in there. And also just know that some of the wine did evaporate, so that's gonna happen as well with yours. And then we're also going to go ahead and put an orange slice in there. Make it look nice and pretty. Put at the top. And that is our glass of mulled wine. So let's go ahead and take it back and go ahead and try it. All right, so we now have our mulled wine in front of us. I did put an orange slice in there. You do, like I mentioned earlier, you want to strain it, make sure you don't get any of the cloves, star anise, or cinnamon sticks in there if you don't want to. You can use the cinnamon stick and the anise, but the clove you kind of want to just leave out. I did put the orange slice though, because I do want to try it. But let's go ahead and try our mulled wine. It smells fantastic, let me tell you. The entire house right now smells so good, specifically because of the spices, like so good smelling. That's interesting. It's like acidic, but sweet, and just like a little something in the back of the palate that I just can't put my finger on. But it's not bad. I would drink this. Like if I was at a party and they made mulled wine, I would definitely drink this. It's not that bad. I'm always go for that second sip. Yeah, it's actually really good. I'm not really one to have a lot of spices. I don't like gingerbread, and I don't really like, you know, Just a bunch of, I don't like things with a whole bunch of seasoning, with like the cinnamon. During this time of year, everything is like pumpkin spice and cinnamon and allspice and just kind of like a lot of baking spices in your face. So I was a little hesitant about this because I did have the anise and the clove and the cinnamon sticks, but it's actually really good, especially with the sugar. I'm very glad that I stayed with the same amount of sugar in the recipe, because I feel like if I would have cut the sugar, it might have been a little too acidic for my taste. And you can always adjust this based on your taste. You can taste it, see if it needs more sugar, if it needs more wine to balance out the sugar. You can also put lemon juice, orange juice, anything that you really want inside. That's the thing about mulled wine, is that you can really kind of play around with the flavors, and you can use allspice, you can use nutmeg, you can use a bunch of different spices in there as well. It is up to you what you want to do. So I hope this video helped show you that there is more than just hot chocolate, tea, and coffee for the holiday season, and it helped bring you some cheer this year. I know this year has been kind of rough, so hopefully this will bring some holiday cheer, starting with Thanksgiving and then going into Christmas, Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa, whatever holiday you celebrate. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Once again, these are very hot beverages, so please be careful. And remember to drink responsibly, and happy drinking!